What's up, nerds? My name is Brendan. I'm the nerd of many faces, and to my right, the victorious over coronavirus, Shane at FDScosplay. How you doing, Shane? We missed you fantastic. 2 weeks ago, but you came out on top. That's the important thing. It's like rest of your family's healthy, hopefully.
Everybody's good. Yeah, it was 4 days of hell, but you know, hey, what can I say? Came out of it. Good to go, ready to rock and roll, back to normal. So,
I mean, if this is not the importance of getting vaccinated, I don't know what an example is.
Yeah, it was definitely because I'm high risk because of asthma, so it definitely kept me out of the hospital and kept me chill. So it was good. It was good.
All right. Well, we had a little bit of a celebration to, one, celebrate you getting out of quarantine, and two, your birthday is on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, the big old man.
So I lost a bet to you a while ago.
Yes.
Over some Star Wars stuff, and but I thought it would be nice for us to go through, and since this episode is based off of the new Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe movie Shang-Chi, I thought it'd be nice to treat you for your birthday, go to the movies. I think I did better than a grilled cheese from In-N-Out.
Yes, you did. It was good. It was very, very good. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. I just like whacked my head against my microphone. That was wonderful.
No worries. I have done that a time or two myself. But
I moved it closer so I could have, so it was a little bit closer and you guys could hear me better. So of course I put it so close that I friggin' whacked my head on it. So, you know, but that's just me because I'm accident prone. So, you know, what the hell.
This is the reason why it's like I'm stopping wearing baseball hats now while I record or stream. I will wear beanies just so that way it's like when I don't have to care about my hair. Yes. Excuse me. But today, we are joined by Andy, the Chinese pirate of the Geekish Network. He's going a little bit rogue today by joining us on our podcast to discuss Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Both you and I enjoyed it immensely. My girlfriend, who is also with us, enjoyed it immensely as well. And I was shushing her like there was no tomorrow in terms of some cases of the movie, and I'm like, no, they're not Pokemon.
Yes, that was quite funny. I'm like, it's Chinese mythology, like
Asian mythology has been around for longer.
much longer.
1994.
I would go as far as saying as Pokemon are a derivative of that mythology. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shush. But let's get Andy in here. Let's welcome him to the round table. And Mr. Lowe, it has been forever and a day.
Hello, sir.
You and I first met each other at met and worked together at a small convention called GamerCon, based here in San Diego. And you have thus since moved to the LA area and are doing great things there, along with some other fantastic people who I've met. So
yeah.
If you want to go on and explain about what it is that you've been doing.
Yeah, so again, my name's Andy Lowe, also known as the Chinese Pirate. I am a podcaster. I'm actually one of the regular hosts over at the Geekish Network. They're on Twitch, and I do two shows for them. The flagship show, which is called Pan Geekery, which is every Monday night at 8 o'clock, and also our Star Wars-focused show called Pod Squadron Podcast, who I do with a good friend Tracy, another mutual friend Tracy.
Yes.
So I've been there for the last year, but I actually moved to Los Angeles. I am also a theater director and producer, and I about 8 years started a job over at East West Players, which is the longest running theater of color in the nation and the largest professional producer of Asian American theater. And so I've been the director of production and casting there for about 8 years, producing live theater and lately more digital, basically miniature films, as we've kind of moved to social distance, indoors, at home solutions.
Something that can be streamed.
Yes.
And downloaded. Well, Andy, I know that for the sake of full disclosure, I reached out to Andy back in
months ago.
I reached out to you months ago because I knew this episode
as soon as there was a release date, I think.
Yup. Probably. Well, it was probably after our production meeting, because as much as we like to stick with the plan, sometimes that needs to adjust. As we found out for our last episode. But I wanted to make sure that we got someone in who could speak well in terms of like maybe some of the stereotypes in terms of what Shang-Chi and
what they got right and what they got wrong. Maybe?
Yeah, what they got right, what they got wrong, and everything else. I mean, Simu.
Well, I can tell you one thing that movie did. It's really confused the hell out of me because Shang-Chi and Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat are spelt the same. So have we been saying Shang Tsung incorrectly this entire time?
Different different dialects, maybe.
Well, okay, remember this is a tonal based language, right? So it could be the same. Like if I could say bow 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 bow. Those are all different words. One is a bread.
Right.
One means I eat too much. It's like.
Like, oh my gosh, like I remember Brendan and I were talking about it when they showed the trailer and he was sitting there, they were on the plane, which is in the movie, and then he's sitting there and she kept on trying to say his name is Noah, like it's like Shang,
right,
with the G on the end, like Sean, but G, Shang.
And before we get too far into this, there will be spoilers abound, so I mean I probably have spoiled some things already. So if you have not figured that out already by like the description and everything else, turn away, go see the movie, and come back later. But it's like, if I'm gonna start this conversation off, is that this was a different type of Marvel movie altogether. And this is something that Marvel has been doing very well, in terms of its movies, and even in the What If series. Guardians of the Galaxy is for all intents and purposes a heist movie. We've had kind of the Westerner, Lone Ranger, renegade type things. I mean, in Star Wars, The Mandalorian, we've had whodunit, we've had murder mysteries. They've done a very good job, and I think the thing that this adds to it is that this is really, I mean, it's way better than Iron Fist as a kung fu movie.
Yeah, oh god, I mean, talk about setting a low bar. But I mean, this is actually something I really appreciate about the way that Kevin Feige has approached all of these films, right? Mm-hmm. He has not gotten trapped, as Hollywood often does, into, oh, it's a comic book movie. That's not a genre, right? In terms of choosing a genre or choosing a filmic idiom, right? Yep. The Captain America films have been political thrillers.
Yes.
The Ant-Man films have been heist films. Like you said, the Guardians of the Galaxy have been kind of 70s style, colorful space operas, right? Every one of these films is kind of like, what is essential to this character, and how does that translate into a film idiom? For this is interesting in that they kind of didn't necessarily pick a single idiom. Instead, I mean, at least from my perspective, what I was seeing was kind of a cross-section of like some of the best of Hong Kong cinema from like the 1980s, 90s, and early 2000s, right? You have a little bit of that kind of classical wuxia sword sorcery, fantasy stuff. You have the kind of like Sui Hark, or you have the kind of Jackie Chan style modern action stuff. You have a little bit of that. The color palette of that kind of gritty John Woo, that washed out kind of blue color template with the neon, right? It was really kind of interesting, and honestly, it made me very nostalgic because I was so addicted to Hong Kong cinema during that era, during that kind of 1990s and late 80s, early 2000s era. So it was very fun for me to read, and of course, and then adding in that you have one of the biggest stars of that era, Tony Leung, at the center of this film, just blowing me away. I
had to go through and it's because I was seeing a whole bunch of articles on Google about how he acts with his eyes, and I'm going through and finding different clips, and I'm like, holy crap, this guy does act with his eyes. Like his
he does.
He's so emotive from here up that there's a lot of things that he conveys with just basically his cheekbones up.
Yeah,
I mean, pure minimalist, and just like you listen to the dialogue, it's like I think there's one of the lines where he says careful, watch your tone with me, boy, right? And I'm like, you listen to that line, it's off the page, it would be so easy to go scenery chewing or go kind of ham-fisted, to play obsession or to play,
to really play anger,
wrath, or whatever like this. But every single line, every moment, every glance, he is playing unimaginable grief, and it is chewy, right? It is just dripping, and it is absolutely just fascinating and compelling to watch how charismatic and tragic he becomes. Absolutely. Such a fan.
It was so good. I think one of my favorite parts of the film, which was the bus, the fight scene on the bus, which was a complete throwback to Jackie Chan. Just so amazing on how they did that, and just the whole choreography. The only issue I kind of had with the movie was some of because when you're filming a fast-paced action film with martial arts, especially American martial arts films, they'll film it at one speed, and then they'll speed it up. And there was a few times on the bus where there were close-ups to where you're like, oh dude, they didn't clean that up good enough. You can totally tell that it's totally sped up, and that it's not they're not moving that fast in real life, which that's what movie magic is. It's about making them look like that they do that. But there was a couple issues on that scene where I was like, oh man. But it was still an amazing scene. It was still an amazing, just most fights you get on a bus or anything like that is maybe a couple minutes long. This was half the damn movie.
This was a very long fight scene, and from my understanding, I read an article from the Hollywood Reporter today where it's for shooting this type of scene, they were sent to the hospital multiple times.
Oh, I bet.
And I'm like,
well, and I believe choreographed by the only Caucasian member of the JC fight team, Brad Allen, who unfortunately passed away before the movie's release. But I believe he did that scene as well as the scaffold fight as well.
Which the scaffold fighting scene, another as Shane mentioned, another fight scene that's very reminiscent of Jackie Chan movies, because it was, I think, Rush Hour 2 where there was a scaffolding scene. Of course, it's Jackie Chan has done it all. He's broken every single bone in his body to do so.
But you can definitely see all of those tricks or tools in the JC toolkit, right? The stuff with the jacket, he pushes one guy over, he falls over, and then he becomes a bridge so that he runs over and then kicks him and he falls down. But I also want to call out that the director Destin Daniel Creighton, who did pay attention to how everything was shot, so you have a lot more kind of wide angle, or even when they're the second movement of the bus fight scene where Simu is fighting from right to left through the bus, and it's just using the wide screen to kind of see him traverse across the bus. As one guy gets thrown out the window, one guy gets flung across the thing. He does a flying sidekick across the bus. It's like there's some really smart camera work in there that captures the action and lets the action be storytelling, right? Or so you can track the fight. Another really cool shot was on the scaffold fight where you're watching the sister evade one of the ninjas, and then it does a 360 pan, and you realize you've been looking at the reflection in the glass of the building, and then now you're looking at like where they are in physical space. Like some really clever stuff with that I thought was very cool.
And it's, I mean, while we're on the topic of fight scenes, the fight scene between Shang-Chi and his sister at the underground fight club, that was an amazing just solo fight scene. And I was pointing out, I'm like, ooh, Easter egg. Like they had an Extremis soldier from Iron Man 3. They had Abomination.
Well, and did you see who he was fighting?
I don't remember who he was fighting because I was just so obsessed that Extremis soldier.
So the Extremis soldier is fighting one of the widows from the Black Widow film.
Oh, okay.
Jesus! Now I gotta go back and take.
Yeah, you gotta.
All right, I'm going back on Tuesday. It's like I'm not gonna
the
wait.
credits. If you look in the credits, there's a credit for just Widow. They don't kind of say Black Widow, they just say Widow. So then you go back and you go, oh yeah, she's totally wearing the uniform of one of the widows that are now scattered all throughout the MCU.
Yeah,
right?
scattered to the winds.
That is awesome. One of the things that I really loved though was the kind of what they did with I'm gonna call him Sean because that's how Katie first met him. That the whole how they made you've got such a great movie with a lot of different things that you took from different films, and one of the things that I really loved was the buddy cop feel that they gave Sean and Katie throughout the entire film. It was very reminiscent of Jackie Chan and
Chris Tucker.
Yeah, Chris Tucker.
For the Rush Hour.
Yeah, from Rush Hour. So it was very not really bickering, but just it was just too funny. It really felt natural. It didn't feel like forced or anything like that. And they did such a great job of really making it seem we've been best friends since we were little kids.
Yeah.
And this is how we've always been, especially when they're sitting in the bar with their girlfriend from high school who's a lawyer and she's sitting there and she's giving them shit because they're still working as
they're still working as valets, and then it's
as valets.
Or we can go do karaoke.
Right? Yeah. So just that whole dynamic just between the two of them was just I thought that was amazing, and it really brought a lot to the film because at the heart of it, it's an amazing martial arts kung fu film, but it had so many different aspects to it. I mean, you got the whole meal. You didn't just get part of a Happy Meal, you got the whole thing. And I thought they did a great job with that. And
I will say that there are some parts of this meal I would have liked more of.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean,
such as
who is the dude in the kabuki mask?
Oh yeah, Death Dealer.
Yeah, it's what's their story?
Yeah.
We see them we see them for a very short amount of time, and then he's 86th.
Yeah.
Later in the movie, and it's
coming into this movie, I'd never read a Shang-Chi comic book. Didn't even know who the character was. I mean, growing up, I mean, my Marvel comic books that I read was Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Power Man, and Iron Fist, and X-Force. Those are my 5 main comics reading through Marvel. So come to find out this character, and you look at it, he's been around since 1973. How the hell have I not read a comic book that's been around since 1973? You know, and he's been a part of so many different.
He's been a part of a lot of different teams. I mean, he is an Avenger.
He is an Avenger. You know, the 5 Powers and oh crap, what was the other one? There was one other that I'm blanking on, but those were the 2 that stood out to me, and I'm like, how did I miss this? Like, I mean, he's older than I am. How do I miss this?
Andy, you were saying?
Oh, you know, just back to Death Dealer. Just a shout out to the stunt performer who's playing Death Dealer is a guy named Andy Lowe, who is one of the guys from Martial Club. If you ever see their YouTube channel, or if you have not seen their YouTube channel, check them out, because they are pretty like fantastic. They basically specialize in doing homages to classic Hong Kong cinema. And all of them are very talented martial artists and stunt performers, very good at emulating different styles. I mean, from just modern tricking to Korean taekwondo kicking to classical kung fu to modern wushu to the Jackie Chan style. They do a lot of different like YouTube shorts, kind of paying homage to these classic films.
Okay. It's like we'll have a link in the description down below for that. Now, I have something that's kind of a criticism in terms of the movie.
Oh, how dare you!
Well, okay, it's more of a question, actually. Yeah. It's more of a question. And this, like, there's a college buddy of mine who is from Malaysia. I think he's from Taiwan, if I remember correctly. He was going through and stating that there was too much Trevor. Now when I got, it's like when the big reveal for Trevor was announced, like I cracked up laughing. I'm like, it's Trevor. And I'm pretty sure Shane was like wondering, it's like, what the hell is wrong with him?
No, I was laughing right with you. I thought that was great. And it was funny because I kind of called it a little bit, because we were talking before the film, and we were talking about, well, who's the big baddie, and I'm like, dude, it's probably going to be the original Mandarin, and you're like, well, it's going to probably be his dad. Oh, basically two in the same when you think about it. Right. And then not even 2 weeks ago, Disney Plus releases the short from Iron Man 3 where Trevor gets broken out of prison.
All hail the king.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're like, really, Disney? You're really like not leaving anything to the imagination here, guys. Like, I completely forgot about that short until you guys re-released it. Like, come on.
Well, and I mean, technically we were both correct. It's like everyone was, it's like you and I were both correct in this. But I did it was just so amazing in terms of how, like, the Mandarin was quashed. Like,
yeah.
Somebody came up and talked to me about like co-opting the 10 rings. I said okay. He called himself the Mandarin, and people feared the highlight of a chicken dish. And right. I'm like,
yeah, no, I thought that was a pretty clever way to kind of to deal with it, right? Because obviously, yeah, like Shang-Chi originally written was the son to the Fu Manchu, which is,
not exactly a very well liked character at this point in time in terms of his portrayal.
I mean, it's a straight up. I mean, it is a yellow peril, propaganda, image, right? Which is just kind of fascinating to see them kind of come full forward and basically acknowledge it, both in its kind of meta reality, right? Kind of talking about making it an allegory for how the West likes to demonize and size what it wants to fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes, you know, a meta reference to a very real thing that honestly many people in the Asian American community are facing right now as people kind of continue to make these campaigns on the Kung Flu, or you know, kind of I mean, shit, man. What, two weeks ago, I got yelled at by some lady in the CVS who like was yelling at me for everything I had done to her and my whole nation. Just like,
it's like,
yeah, you know,
my mom
is my
lives,
nation lady.
It's like I'm from San Diego.
Yeah.
What do you want?
But this is the, you know, this is the idea of how, you know, our culture creates the other, how it creates this kind of perpetual foreigner, exotic thing, you know, that is otherworldly and can easily be feared. And it was just so quickly and so easily they just addressed it and named it. I was like, I thought that was pretty elegant, actually.
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious because, okay, spoiler here. I mean, as every Marvel fan should already freaking know, you stay till the end credits are completely done rolling. Okay. What's his sister going to do? Like, she's taken over the Ten Ring organization. So what, is she just going to be the Queen of the Ten Rings? Like, because I was telling Brandon, I was like, so what, does she take on the mantle in the name of the Mandarin now? Or do they completely squash that, because they kind of squashed it with, you know, with that whole scene where they're talking about, oh, he just used the name of a chicken dish.
Yeah. Well, it's also, you know, what does the Ten Rings do now, right? Are they going to continue to be an international terrorist network that that shadow government, or are they going to be, you know, it's like they introduce them with all of the art and the graffiti on the walls and, you know, the girl power army, right? So it's like, are they going to be a faction for good or a faction for evil? Who knows? Right. But in the bigger picture of Marvel, right? I was just actually talking to another friend of mine about this, how when you think about all of the recent Marvel releases, right? WandaVision basically established and teased that S.W.O.R.D. is out there and not necessarily led by the best people. The Falcon the Winter Soldier teased a lot of things. You know, you've got some flag smashers that are still out there in the ether.
Some Thunderbolts.
You also have Valentina is out there. We don't actually know who she works for, whether it's the U.S. government or Ross or what, right? Who else did they tease? There was a couple other factions. Oh, of course, the Dora Milaje are going wherever they would damn well please, you know. And then let's see here. Of course, Loki established that the TVA, there are various TVA variants throughout the multiverse doing whatever they do. So now we've added to this, you know, to this mix in terms of, and of course, Black Widow, of course, established there's a bunch of formerly mind-washed, an army of Black Widows that are out there in the world too. So there's a lot of, even just right there are 3 like girl power armies, secret armies that are in the world of the MCU right now, between the Ten Rings, the Black Widows, and the Dora Milaje.
I mean, it's like with those people that you just listed off. I mean, Wong and the other sorcerers for Endgame would need like another probably like 10 portals to bring them all in.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, we still are waiting for them to reveal Atlantis, right? They gave a little tease of a line that Atlantis is out there with the Submariner Namor, right? Yep. But still to be revealed.
Yeah. I loved how Wong was in this for as short of a time as he was, and it really, you know, just, you know, especially again with the end credits, tying it pretty much all together. You know, it was pretty amazing.
It's like, and I do want to know, it's like, what is his relationship to Abomination? Because it's like we need to practice your rights, and I'm like, wait, what? You've been training him?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. He was like buddy, right? I mean, he's like, you know,
and it's
like we practice. Like they were
and Tim Roth, who I'm pretty sure I'm fairly certain that he's reprising his role as Abomination.
Yeah, I believe he is said to be in the new She-Hulk series on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So yeah. Tim Roth wasn't exactly a nice guy.
No, he wasn't. No, like, yeah.
Yeah, kudos to the actor.
That was just confusing. Very confusing.
And the CGI abs had nothing to do with it. He was an asshole even before the CGI abs.
Yes.
Yep. And yeah, there were really some very like juicy moments in this, and even when they get to the hidden village, Ta Lo, thank you.
Talo, yeah.
Talo, and you know the reveal of the Pokemon, and I'm like, shush, shush. It's a kitsune. Like,
well, actually, it's not a kitsune.
It's not a kitsune.
So, and this is actually that one actually got me a little emotional. Of all the things to get to me, right? Because you know the nine-tailed fox is such a big thing in Chinese mythology, right? Like it feels to me like such an obscure thing that no one would ever address. Everyone does dragons or dragon horses or, you know,
the lions,
the phoenix, or the Feng Huang or all the lions, right? The nine-tailed fox was like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
And perhaps you know what this, perhaps you can tell me, because I was trying to find it. What was Maurice?
Oh, Morris? I don't know what that thing is actually.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, I've never heard of that thing. But I'm sure Disney will sell you a plush of it that will be very adorable.
I'm pretty sure that they will.
I'm fairly certain. It's like, great, we don't have to do a face, we don't have to do eyes, we don't have to do nothing. It's just a butt.
There you go.
Look like a damn ottoman with legs and wings. They were sitting in Kevin Feng's office, and he had this really furry like ottoman sitting in front of his chair. They're like,
give that thing wings and we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Actually, okay. So on that, actually, coming back to Ben Kingsley, right?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, like, it was almost a little bit too much of him for me as well. However, I did respect for them of they didn't just tease it and go, look, here's the Easter egg. They actually just like leaned into it and like committed to it.
Yeah.
So like, okay, he's there. He's a character.
I thought his best scene was when, you know, the battle's going on and he's laying on the ground like right. He's dead. And Morris comes up to him and he's like, I'm okay. It's called acting.
And then Morris rolls over on his back.
He's just like, it's got his feet up. I was just like, oh my god. That to me was like, that was hilarious. But yeah, no, there was a lot of Trevor. Like, but I mean, when you kind of think about it, how do you not get to Talo without him? You know,
right?
He's the only one that could understand Morris.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like, and that's a little bit of like, okay, a little bit of MacGuffin plot armor.
Yeah.
And also
he becomes our droid, basically,
yes.
right? He becomes our C-3PO.
Yeah.
Well, and also I did have this thought as well. In terms of it's like, you know, why is Trevor in this film? And I'm like, well, it's kind of shown that, you know, the Mandarin's character, the leader of the Ten Rings, his character,
right? Wenwu,
thank you. He's kind of becoming, it's like, you know, even though his ultimate end goals are fairly nefarious, it's like he has become softer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I mean, yeah, ultimately his main motivation is just overwhelming grief, right?
Yes.
It's he just wants his wife back, or he thinks getting his wife back is the only way to have his family.
Yes.
Right.
And
so
go ahead.
Like in so doing, like ignoring the family that is there right there with him, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing that I thought. So since Wenwu is becoming softer of a person, or a gentler person, in terms of what it is. It's like he could have been. It's like, why get Trevor clean? Why not just give him all the drugs that he wants and let him be in a haze for the rest of his life, or ultimately dead, probably.
Right.
That's like for some odd reason or another. But they went through and they got him clean, and they said, it's like, hey, you're actually kind of funny. We'll go through and keep you around. So, because of course they didn't. It's like Wenwu wouldn't want. It's like Wenwu wouldn't. I mean, I have been told I look like Chris Evans. I am pretty sure Chris Evans would take issue with me saying I am Chris Evans.
Right.
Because one, I am not. And it's like anybody would take anyone takes issue with identity theft. So I kind of sort of thought it's like, it's like, well, maybe it's like he thought that it's like, okay, let's get this guy out of the limelight. Let's not have him garner all this ill-gotten attention. Let's try to help him maybe. Or kill him. And that's kind of where my brain went in terms of, it's like, okay, this is why it's like, other than the MacGuffin, I can understand the tour guide. This is another reason of why he's around.
Right.
So, but who is the auntie? Her name starts with an M.
Oh,
I cannot.
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh, thank you. Also a fantastic it's like film actress. What it's like the most. It's like, I'm pretty sure that everyone remembers her from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And of course from Crazy Rich Asians. Yep. But of course her Hong Kong career in Asian cinema is like legendary. I think she first premiered in Super Cop, the third what is it, a police story movie with Jackie Chan, and of course she did a movie called Wing Chun. She did a number of movies with Jet Li. She's
she is a legendary.
She's a Bond girl. Even she was she was with Pierce Brosnan, right?
Yep. It's like movie credits as long as like the eye can see. The scenes with her, as well as some of the scenes beforehand with Katie's character and her family, like, I have, this is gonna sound terrible, but my friends who happen to be Filipino, I was invited to their birthday party. I was invited to my friend's birthday party, his 40th, and of course his parents make a feast that's like, no one can eat all this. And there's this whole entire thing. It's like, you show up, you are given food. And there was a lot of like good family aspects that I thought, like, it's like, okay, this is what, like, they had the example of, this is what a family does and this is what a family should not do.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and so this is like one of the things I really got to hand it to the screenwriter and the director, right? Is that here you have this kind of superhero epic that's emulating classic Hong Kong cinema, and they still managed to sneak in a thematic allegory to a very Chinese American experience of, the child, the next generation, who is trying to find their own way and create their own independent identity from their family, who is basically trained and kind of pigeonholed his whole life by his overbearing parental figure into being something that he does not want to be. Mm-hmm. And of course can't live up to, right? It's like there is very much an undercurrent that is very much the experience of anyone who has grown up with immigrant parents, right? Which I found kind of fascinating.
And what it's like another thing that I thought, well, actually we're getting, it's like we're not coming close to our time, but I have a feeling that this is going to take the longest bit of all. When do you think we'll see Shang-Chi and Katie again? Because at the end of it's like at the end of every movie, well, almost every movie, it says Shang-Chi will return.
Yep. I have.
We know that they're with Wong. We know that they're with Wong right now.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, that they'll probably have some sort of cameo in the next Doctor Strange.
Well, that's right. I mean, so they cue it up saying that the rings are not Chitauri tech, not
yes, they are not right. They are not alien technology.
They're not in the codex of the sorcerers, which is like they know fucking everything. So what is the? Oh, I'm sorry, am I not supposed to swear?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So it's not in the codex, and it's sending out this beacon to some party that they don't know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is this related to Kang and the multiverse stuff? Is this related to the Eternals and the Deviants, right? Or is this something else?
I mean, it's like it could. I was saying to Shane after we got done watching, and we were standing in the parking lot. I'm like, this could possibly be our introduction to Galactus.
I was wondering, right?
Because
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that in the comics, the rings are a creation of the McLuhans, right? But we've now seen a dragon, an actual dragon in the river. Right?
Yes.
So we're not gonna get Fing Fang Foom as a dragon.
Well, we might get Fing Fang Foom. He'll just be a bad dragon.
Fair enough. Right. But I mean, presumably these are not McLuhan technology anywhere. So, it's like, we've seen them do this before, right? Where they combined the cosmic cube, the Tesseract with the Space Stone, right? Yes. Or they've combined. So it's like, have they? That's the question of what have they combined the mythology of the rings with?
And well. And I mean, I made the joke on our friendly Cozy's stream, because he mentioned it's like that the 10 rings are originally alien technology. And I said, it's like, man, it's like I was unaware that it was the McLuhans that this was the technology from them. And I'm like, it's like, I can just imagine them. It's like, yeah, we use those for our toilets. We take very, very strong poops. We need something to guide it that direction. And I'm like, because I mean, it's like I know it was a joke that was probably made in poor taste, but I'm like, you never. It's like in terms of alien technology, you never know what it's going to do, or where it came from. So
right.
Well, so this is the other interesting thing too, right? Where we see when Wenwu uses the rings, they glow blue.
They glow
right?
A purplish blue. Yes,
a purplish blue. When Shang-Chi wields the rings, or even when his mother wields, they glow with that kind of golden light that we've seen in other films with that is like cosmic power, right? So so what is that a hint of anything too? One other point of detail I'm just going to call out, right? So this is like, so I'm also, obviously a kung fu movie nerd, but I'm also, kung fu nerd, as it were, right? But I found it also really interesting that that they changed the rings from actual like finger rings to what are
the gauntlets.
Well, yeah, this is something you see a lot in southern martial arts. The bracers, the bracelets that are often used for training. You see it a lot with people who do like Hung Gar style or even Wing Chun. When Wu's fighting style is actually very much kind of a little bit of a mix of Hung Gar and kind of more Wushu Long Fist. right? And it's versus his mother, who is doing kind of a little bit of Yang style and a little bit of White Crane Tai Chi.
Okay.
Right. So that whole idea of, you know, when Michelle Yeoh says to him, you know, you are both of your father, you know, recognize who you are and be of both of them. You know, when he is at his most powerful is when he decides he is not going to be the assassin that his father taught him to be, and he's not going to kill, and he's not his mother, but he starts basically doing, and it's like, this is a total rudimentary, like, you know, kung fu thing, where like you first days you learn the salute is this, which is the hard and the soft come together, right? Mm-hmm. Or, you know, the teacher guides the student, or, right, you know, but so he starts doing all of his moves as a mix of that kind of Tai Chi and long fist style. He kind of goes hard and soft, which then of course activates the rings, which I thought was kind of like, okay, that's like a nice little detail that, you know, only I am gonna pick out. No one else cares, but I thought. But
it's like, but hey, you got something from it, and that's the important thing. And
right.
So it's like it's like, Andy, while you were talking, I was going through and just doing a little bit of checking. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is, as of right now, it's scheduled to come out March 26th, 2022.
Right.
The next time that we see, and I'm putting this in air quotes, Doctor Strange is in...
Interesting choice.
I have theories.
I think I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Doctor Strange in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep.
Right.
So could it possibly be that we see, it's like that we start to see more of these characters pop? It's like, you know, Katie or Sean pop up and be like, hey, we understand that you need some help.
Right.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting though, because there was a video I was watching, and they were talking about how this Doctor Strange in Spider-Man, that's not Doctor Strange. It's either a variant or somebody completely else. That
Mephisto.
Thank you. Yes, I didn't want to try and throw it out, but yes, Mephisto.
If you've read the Spider-Man One Day More series, you already know.
Yeah, because Doctor Strange wouldn't just willy-nilly try and, I mean, because he went through all that crap 4 million whatever times to see how many times Avengers won, but wouldn't tell anybody what it was. But all of a sudden, he's free and good to go. Like, all right, Peter, let's change your past. Let's go. Come on.
14,700,743, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was some ridiculous number.
So I gotta say also.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy.
I've been watching the Marvel's What If, the animated series on Disney Plus as well too, right?
Yes.
So the first time that I saw that they were teasing some tentacled beast, you know, behind a cave, I was like, wait a minute. We have now twice seen a tentacled beast through a portal get fought back, and of course one of those was fought back by, well, actually one of those tentacled beasts became Doctor Strange, actually. Yeah. Right? So that was like one thing where I was wondering, oh god, did they really tie this in? Well, and of course it wasn't. The Soul Sucker was its own thing.
Yeah, it's like the Soul Sucker, it's like, here's what I mean, I expected the Soul Sucker to be Blackheart. Because I'm like, that's one of the things that I vaguely remember. Because one, like, they're throwing in the tentacle beasts, and it's like, okay, they're starting to throw crap in from like Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if they're throwing in that guy, this dude was an enemy too. Get him in.
Yeah.
Because he also controlled flying bat demons and everything else, and I'm like, flying bat demons? It's like, my guess is looking better.
But yeah, but I mean, that's a thought that I've seen bouncing around too, right? Is that we have seen an evil Doctor Strange stuck in his own tiny universe, which is now shrunk, and he's stuck alone, holding the dead body of of his girlfriend.
I'm no, like, he's holding nothing, sir.
That's that's right. That's right. He turned into ink. Yeah.
It's like, as opposed to dusted, they all got blobbed. Or evaporated, I guess. Evaporated. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and
yeah, it would be ballsy. It would be ballsy to see if they actually plan to tie all of, like, however what if ends, or the season ends, if that ties into.
Oh, that's already been confirmed. All the what if episodes. Really? Yeah, AC Bradley has stated that all the what if episodes tie to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay, all right. So one step closer to live action Captain Peggy or Captain Carter.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Haley Atwell is like chomping at the bit.
Start working out.
Yeah.
So, Shane, when do you think we'll see Sean and Katie next?
You know, it's a loaded question, man. No, you know, thinking about it, I mean, so here's my thought. So, in the trailer for Spider-Man
No Way Home, yeah,
you see Wong walking out to go do something. I think that's Wong going out to talk to Shang-Chi and Katie.
Why is he packed and stuff too, right?
Yeah, he's packed a few bags.
Right. So I think that's him kind of doing that. I think that's how they're gonna try and maybe tie that in. But I mean, we may see them in an end credit scene in No Way Home, but I think we may see them more as a cameo, or even as
in another after credit scene,
in a team up role in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I could see them playing a role in that.
I mean, I think there's got to be something to that beacon, right? And so it makes me wonder if they show up, maybe not in the movie, the whole movie, but maybe in the after credit scene of Eternals, right?
Yeah.
If that beacon is, or if the rings are somehow linked to the Celestials, right?
Yeah.
Because Eternals is scheduled to come out before Spider-Man.
Yeah,
November.
It's like
November
the next thing,
5th.
November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
November 5th is its release date, and I don't think they would bring those characters back in that quickly, though.
No,
I don't.
No, because they really haven't done that before, have they?
The first Avengers, like, well, Iron Man. It's like Iron Man. They brought in Nick Fury.
But I mean,
Iron Man 2 had Ross's cameo appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
I don't know, I mean, if they did, it definitely would be something interesting. Like, I mean, it definitely would be a great tie-in to Eternals, especially if if the beacon is for that.
Shane, just so I'm clear, am I misunderstanding you? Are you saying that they won't bring them in for a cameo appearance, or they won't bring them in for a regular appearance?
I don't think they'll bring him in for a regular appearance in that film.
Okay, then that was my bad. I misunderstood you. I just wanted to clarify.
If they do, it may be like we were saying, you know, an end credit scene, maybe something along the lines of that.
That's a cameo.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think we'll see them that soon. I think it definitely would probably be something along the lines of Spider-Man or Doctor Strange.
I'll say this right now. I do feel like we're gonna get Wong. Because, I mean, okay, right? Because we know that at the end of Eternals, the Eternals are going to have to reveal themselves to the larger MCU, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be some kind, and I love how Wong has now become our new Coulson, more or less.
I mean, can you ask for anything better? I mean, one, I want to say his name starts with a B. Benedict.
Oh yeah, Benedict Wong.
Benedict Wong. Thank you. It's like that would have to be confusing on a Doctor Strange chick. Benedict. I bet they both turned and went yes.
The British one, yes. Damn.
It's like they both turned again. Yes.
Right. The one that's Smog. Where's like, Smog?
It's like Mr. Cumberbatch. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Okay, there we go.
Right. Hey, Sherlock.
Which still, by the way, cannot believe they missed that opportunity for Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch to turn to each other and go, "No shit, Sherlock."
Or it's like, in all honesty, it's like it would be Tony Stark turning to Doctor Strange and being like,
Doctor Strange.
It's like, no shit, Sherlock, and then just walking away,
and then wink.
Doctor Strange would have to do the wink.
Yes, right.
But
or just Deadpool shows up.
It's like, hey, I'm the only one who's supposed to be breaking fourth walls, not you.
Yeah, right.
But so it's like all around like a fun ride. How many? It's like, so out of 10 rings, what would you give this movie? Shane, we'll have you go first.
Oh man, for me, it's pretty high. Like I was telling you guys earlier, this is easily my favorite Marvel film, out of all of them. I mean, it had pretty much everything that I could want in a movie. And I mean, you couldn't have had, even if you didn't have the name Marvel on this movie, it was still an amazing film because it did not feel like a Marvel movie. It felt like an actual action flick. I mean, if you took out Marvel and didn't have the known characters in some of those scenes, you would have just taken it as an amazing martial arts action flick. So and I love Chinese mythology, Japanese mythology, just Asian mythology, period. I mean, I grew up on it, but my mom's side of the family was heavily influenced in it. And, just seeing how they transitioned all of that onto film in the States per se, it was so fantastic to see. And I mean, I was as giddy as a schoolgirl throughout that entire film. And so, I mean, for me, even with the technical aspects that I spoke about earlier, with you could totally see the speed up and slow down, issues that they had in the film. For me, it's a solid 9.2.
No, cool. It's like 9.9, a very specific number, 9.2.
I could have said 9.73 since it came out in 73, but hey.
It's like, Andy, it's like you've been to this movie twice.
I've been to this movie twice. So okay, I'm going to be a little hard on this movie. This is not to say that I think it is any weaker than anyone else, but I'm going to give it a solid 8. Okay. And here's why. I want to give this the caveat is that that's not like demoting it to like a B for like the Asian F, right? But it's that. Sorry, as I was saying before, like there's so much of the film is an homage to kind of these classic, amazing Asian cinema films, and it's like, and there is beauty in homage, and it's great that it's like we're seeing this in Western cinema and of course in the MCU. Which makes it novel and new, but it's not necessarily new to me. So there were moments where I'm like, this is a beautifully shot, approximation of a classic wuxia sword and sorcery magic romance scene, right? It works for this film, and it's transportive for this film, but it's still not as good as Sui Hark's Ghost Story, or it's still not as good as Green Snake, right? The bus fight is a fantastic scene, but I still think in the back of my head of the first time I saw a Police Story with Jackie Chan, which has like, it's the whole last 45 minutes is this amazing one-man siege on a mall by like everyone in Hong Kong. It is phenomenal, right? like I was saying, Tony Leung, a lot of American audiences are being introduced to him for the first time, and are being blown away, and he is phenomenal, and he steals the movie, right? Like when you think about this, right? This is a first, a origin story movie for a Marvel superhero, and it feels novel because you don't actually focus on his arc as a hero's journey arc. It's actually all Wenwu's story. His kind of it's really more a story of his redemption and descent into darkness, and then redemption again, right? He does the Darth Vader thing where his son's faith in him redeems him at the last minute before he dies, right? So he's great, but I still think back to him in, Chungking Express or where he is scintillating, and I say that as a, very secure straight man, but good God, he is a gorgeous human being, and damn, right? So my hope in this is by, giving this a slightly lower grade, that I inspire you to go check out some of these other amazing films from Wong Kar-wai, the classic Jackie Chan, the classic Jet Li films, the Once Upon a Time in China's, because they are absolutely worth going back to. In fact, even the Once Upon a Time films are now being added to the Criterion Collection. Many of the Wong Kar-wai films are already in the Criterion Collection, and if you haven't seen them, here's more reason for you to check those out.
Well, yeah, that was one of my things too with this film is, after, people see this and understand the homage that it pays, that, moviegoers go out, and if they haven't seen any of those films, that they go back and they watch them and enjoy them as much as we have watching them growing up and stuff like that, because it's just, those are such amazing films, and people don't know about them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And I don't need I don't need a reason to go watch a Jackie Chan film. I will watch Jackie Chan films all day, every day, if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because one, they're fantastic. Two, I respect the man as an actor, as a stunt performer, as even it's crap as a singer, because he got his start in Chinese opera. It's before he started doing film work.
Yeah.
And I'm not as high as Shane in terms of scoring this, and I'm not as low as Andy. I'm gonna fall right in the middle of 8.75/9.
All right.
And for again, this is the whole entire thing of okay, a little bit of MacGuffin here and there, which I understand has to happen. It just it's in the moment I enjoyed it. After a little bit of critical thinking, it's was this ultimately really necessary? Yes. Yes, it was, for plot reasons, but not really much anything else. And a little bit of this is more for the ending of the movie, because I'm okay, I know what's gonna happen. It's Awkwafina is gonna take her shot, and it's gonna do it. She rolls a nat 20, she crits,
right?
And I'm okay, just kind of the whole entire thing. It's yes, there was the ancient Chinese proverb of, if you don't aim at anything, you'll always miss. Kind of thing that they had going for it. And I'm and then she's just all of a sudden good with a bow and arrow. And I'm give me a little bit more of a training montage.
Yeah.
Especially with her character, because we already knew that Sean, we already knew that his sister was good at martial arts. Granted, I think that Sean needed to be shown a little bit more, just due to the whole entire internal conflict that he was having with himself. But we didn't get to see, we saw Katie get to be, great. a few times during the movie, and that was in terms of her driving skill and in terms of her wielding of a bow. And I think they could have done more with Awkwafina's character. That's the only reason why I grade it like less than Shane and more than you.
I think it's funny. You're grading it on character development. I'm grading it on overall like special stuff.
Go watch it. Go watch the movie. It's fantastic.
Oh no, it is. And you know what? One thing that I think that kind of fell through the cracks a little bit, you know, in our conversation too, was the fact that, you know, here's Sean getting all this martial arts training from his father. Mm-hmm. But they wouldn't let his sister do any type of martial arts training or anything like that. And how did she learn? She did it on her own. Yeah. She taught herself. And I thought that was like, damn, like, because I mean, when you think about it, whether it's, you know, Western culture, Eastern culture, whatever it is, there is that where it's like an assassin's a guy. Right.
Well, I mean, you know, and this is I mean the thing, right? They kind of make that promise at the end of, they don't say Shang-Chi will return, they say the 10 rings will return.
Yeah.
Right. With that tease of, you know, the compound is now getting graffiti, and you know, we have women in the compound training alongside the male ninjas, and Razor Fist is still there. You know.
Yeah.
So like after they stole his car.
Yeah. So presumably
that he was straight off the pages of the comic. Like literally. Like they did a really, really good job of that.
Minus the blue singlet, but you know. But yeah, I mean, they haven't announced like a Disney Plus series or anything yet, but I mean, presumably.
Why not give us a 10 ring series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like what phase of Marvel are we in?
4.
We're in phase 4 Marvel.
Yep.
This is gonna be. The images give me. Okay, so what is considered to be phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe currently stands as thus. Not all of these movies have been released, mind you. Movies or series have been released. The Eternals, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Shang-Chi, WandaVision, Loki, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Marvel's What If, Marvel's Hawkeye, Thor, Love and Thunder, and Black Widow. So, in all honesty, we're rapidly approaching the end of phase 4.
Yeah. Gosh, wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
Because, like, the only things that I can think of, Eternals. It's interesting that Spider-Man No Way Home isn't on here.
I mean, it's probably still technically phase 4. It's just they're Sony released, right? So
yeah.
And
you know, the other thing too, right? So we've been seeing like there are also multiple threads happening, right? We have a whole multiverse thread with everything going on with Loki and WandaVision and what's going to be happening with Spider-Man and all that, right? And then we have kind of the more grounded world with Black Widow, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Presumably, right, that there is going to be a series for Armor Wars and
because they're going to introduce
Invasion, right? They're doing a
the Skrull Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Possibly. It's like I'm trying to find a more definitive source in regard.
I was gonna say because there's also like the She-Hulk series, the Ms. Marvel. I think we're also end of the year.
But also I forgot to take into consideration that there was a pandemic that put a lot of this stuff on hold.
Yep. Yeah, because Black Widow was supposed to kick off phase 4.
Black Widow was supposed to kick off phase 4, and now it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So let's see. Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, There's Strange Marvel vs. Mess. Okay, Thor Love and Thunder in 2022. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. the Marvels.
There's also like a Wakanda series too, right? Like,
I mean, at this point in time, I don't know if it's like, I don't, from what has been released previously to what has been released recently.
Yeah.
It's like, I would have to go through and do some further research. But we don't have, it's like, unfortunately, we don't have time to connect those dots and strings at this current point in time. I mean,
to go conspiracy theorist.
There will, you can ask Shane. It's like, there have been times like, I'm like, it's like, but wait, this makes sense in terms of the dates and the times and the place and things, and I just hit my mic. So it's like, this is how I lost my bet to him.
Right.
And we overthink everything, and you get us on a live stream with Lee, and I was by myself with Lee, and I was on his stream for about 4 or 5 hours of just talking, just everything that we could possibly think of. So, yeah, we can go on for hours.
But actually, okay.
Go ahead.
Speaking of which, did you guys notice the little bit of connections they had to kind of where we are in the timeline? Like, there is a poster for what is it called? Blip Sync, which looks like to be a dating app for people who were
blipped,
snapped out of existence.
Yeah, I mean, this takes place after, it's like after the snap. When after the snap, we don't know, but in terms of year, we're talking
2023.
Actually later than that, because we went from current day. It's like we went from current day to 5 years later in Avengers Endgame, and that was released in 2018.
Yeah, so 2023 would be the 5-year point afterwards.
Right. 5-year point afterwards.
Also, the guy that was on the bus that was doing the vlog, he was in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's the do a flip guy.
Do a flip.
Yep.
But
so it's been as much time as it takes for Carol Danvers to grow out her hair.
Exactly.
And actually, like, Banner's got a little too. He's got a little bit of a you know.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of a shag.
Yeah.
Before we go, can we just talk about Banner really quick?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay. Y'all did notice the gauntlet he had on his left hand. That was basically what I think was keeping him as Bruce and not as Banner Hulk.
Well, he's got the. Are you talking about the sling?
Yeah, the sling.
He had a sling on his left arm. He had like a gauntlet thing on that had a green light on it.
Oh,
which I am thinking was keeping him as Banner.
Oh, interesting. I didn't see that.
It's like, might be some sort of gamma absorption technology.
Right.
Just because it's like the whole entire thing of all the Infinity Stones within the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet, saying it released it's comprised mostly of gamma radiation. Right. You know,
and his thing was too that if he ever transferred back on the Hulk, he didn't think he'd ever be able to morph back into Banner.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but interesting.
But maybe it was one of those things where, because we also saw 2 weeks ago in What If that there is only so much Bruce Banner can take.
Right.
So the whole entire thing of like, okay, maybe that's it's like, maybe when he snapped his fingers, he was exposed to so much gamma radiation. It's like, okay, this could possibly now kill you.
Right.
If you don't, it's like, if we don't find some way to control it. So it's like, now he's wearing like a gamma reduction apparatus, and
you know, like that Stark Lord to keep the shrapnel out of his heart.
Exactly. So it's like, it might be such that like, you know, he presses a button, the gauntlet falls off, he becomes Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, and of course we know that both he and Abomination are set to appear in the She-Hulk series.
Yep.
Right. So this could be their backdoor into how they create She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. The theories are endless. The theories are endless.
Yes.
But Andy, thank you so much for joining us for this. If you are it's like, well, I'll have to message you if you're still in. It's like how to see how long you're in town for, and you know, maybe it's like maybe we can connect in person, and yeah, go check out his stuff at the Geekish Network. Links are all in the description down below. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out. But for now, that's like, I'm Brendan. I'm the nerd of many faces. That's been Shane at FDScosplay, and that's been Andy Lowe, the Chinese pirate. Thank you for joining us at the roundtable, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you, and good day.
Laters.